Hello and welcome to Money Purpose Live. Money Purpose is a series of interviews with over 20 experts that have mastered tools and strategies which led them to their financial success. What wealth creators, fire experts, money coaches have done differently to have the right money mindset and create more money during COVID-19. In this series, you will gain the most relevant insights and strategies to help you pivot or thrive through current challenging times. The Money Purpose series was created by Blossom Media Studio to empower you to take control of your finances. Now let's get right into it. Today we have guest Sean Hilliard, a certified financial planner and money coach. He spent several years working for two large investment and insurance companies, and he now realizes the importance of educating himself and others on day-to-day personal finances. Sean started his own coaching practice where he has the goal of helping you reach your financial dreams and to help you change your family tree. Now let's get together and welcome Sean to this episode.
Welcome to Money Purpose series, and thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to join. Thank you.
It's such a pleasure that I was able to connect with you and learn more about your background and a lot of accomplishment in financials sphere that you have done. And for people that are watching right now that don't know Sean, we have connected through Instagram once I start following FIRE movement, which stands for Financial Independence and Retire Early. And also I get involved in debt-free community, and that's where Sean's name popped up because he is a big advocate for living a debt-free life. He is also a financial coach, and he's also a certified financial advisor. Is that
right?
correct?
Certified financial planner. Yep.
Yeah. So he helped people all across the United States to just be in terms with their finances and really learn how they can live debt-free, still buy the house, and be eventually financial independent. So
Yeah.
I'm super excited to have you on this series and cannot wait for all the wisdom that you will have to share with us.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, so walk us a little bit back on the background and history of how you get to the where you at and get to the financial literacy journey.
Yeah, sure. So I'll try to keep it brief, but I grew up in a very normal home, middle class for sure. I'm the youngest of four boys. My dad worked; he owned his own business, and my mom stayed home with us. So we ended up not really ever having a ton of money. We still had a lot of fun, but it wasn't something where we were talked about with money a lot. I mean, we didn't talk about it and say like, we can't do that because it's not in the budget. A very normal like birthday for me growing up would have been going to McDonald's dollar menu with a few friends, and then and then picking up like a dollar theater movie. And so, $25, my mom can take me and some friends out, but it was great. I mean, I still have those memories, and it wasn't expensive. And, so I think I picked up more habits from just them living their lives than I did them sitting me down and talking to me about money. I never really got the sense that we were rich, but at the same time, we never struggled. And so, we just kind of made do with some inexpensive ways to have fun and to live our life. I mean, my mom taught me go straight to the clearance section in the store, and if there's nothing there that you want, then walk out the store. Tips like that, or putting something in your cart and walking around the store, and if you haven't thought about it before the end of the grocery trip or the store trip, then just put it back because you probably don't want it if you haven't thought about it. So it's those sorts of things that I really caught on to. I've always had an interest in math and numbers. I always wanted to be a math teacher growing up because it just came very easy and natural to me. But I never really thought about money or personal finance, none of that really, until I got married. I got married. My wife told me about Financial Peace University and the Dave Ramsey thing. And she said, maybe we should look at this. And I didn't really know much, but I started reading his book and we took his class together. And it was kind of the rest is history from there. But when we got married, we were doing just fine. We were better off than most, mostly because my wife had worked a lot and had saved a ton of money. But we weren't like making a ton of money. We were very average. I mean, we were probably making $45,000 a year together when we got married. So it wasn't like amazing, but because we had no debt other than, like a small car loan at that time and cell phone payments, we were still okay. But she suggested Dave Ramsey. I jumped headfirst. We started following the baby steps, paid off that car, paid off the cell phones, interested in buying a home. And so we ended up buying a home the first year that we were married. Fortunate enough to do that with 20% as a down payment.
That's awesome.
We did a 15-year mortgage, the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I don't even know how we survived. I look back at the numbers and our payment was way too big for our budget. But we did okay. And then shortly after, a friend told me about a job opportunity at an investment company. And at the time I was working at my in-laws preschool and I enjoyed it, but it wasn't where I wanted to see my career going. And so I jumped on the opportunity to get involved in people's money. And when I got that job, I quickly got promoted, and then I became an advisor, got my certified financial planning designation. And I developed this huge heart to see people kind of reignite the hope that maybe they've lost.
Yeah.
Life is tough, especially in times like right now, but sometimes we lose hope. And when you see that hope reignite, their whole life changes, their whole, facial expression changes. They seem happier. And it just takes a little bit of time and a little bit of knowledge for them to change. So that was kind of it. That kind of brings us up to today. I stopped working for the corporate world about 4 or 5 months ago because I wanted to really dive headfirst into coaching and teaching instead of selling products. So now I really just sell myself as time and products and resources that I can provide you to help you learn and make the best decisions for you to grow.
Yeah, I love that. And I can see the passion of you of being a teacher is shining through when I see you on Instagram Live or the things that you share on social media, like as of like resources and tools to think about money. You really shine through as a teacher, and I really want to let you know that.
Thank you.
Also, so you learn a lot about habits of spending and money from your parents, and then also your wife has been very, I would say, open up about speaking about money. But what is the one thing that you see in common through coaching people that they have problem with while talking about money, especially with couples?
With couples, man. So in this day and age, I feel like there's two different types of people. There's either the people that are couples, they really want to combine everything, or they really don't want to combine everything. You don't usually have that middle ground where people are like, yeah, well, combine this, but not, I mean, sometimes people will have their own bills, but that is a difficult conversation to have with people, because in my opinion, when you get married, I want you to combine, because you decided to combine your lives. And it's more than just money. When you combine your money, it's more than just an income and expenses. When you talk together and decide together what you're going to do with your money, it really is you aligning your values together. It's talking about where you want your future to go together. And that's the main reason why I decide to, encourage people to combine everything. It's not because of necessarily the money aspect of it. Every month I get some, blow money, we call it, just whatever money. My wife gets whatever money to spend on whatever she wants to. And that's hers. I don't even ask her about it. I've got mine. She doesn't even ask me about it. But as far as our goals, we've talked about that. And we've said it's important for us to be able to do things on our own. And it's important for us to be able to do things as a family. And, we've got a destination that we're trying to get to. And so we don't, if we're off on two different lanes, we don't know if we're getting there together. And so we want to ride together in the same car and get there at the same time.
Right. Yeah.
So it's a tough conversation to have.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love that you share that, and it is a tough conversation to have, but it is a conversation that you need to have. And I want to commend you for really having a I would say, an attitude of peace when it comes to money and just talking about money, because I can sense that you are very, in a way, calculated in the mind, like, okay, well, things, if it comes to money, we can figure it out and we can talk about it. So maybe you can share with us a little bit more. What is the one habit that helped you and your family to cope with pandemic in terms of finances, and what helped you to stay peaceful in terms of
Yeah.
finances, especially during pandemic?
Yeah, so we, I feel like we do really well with like good money habits. I don't know, I don't really compare it to other, I try not to because everybody's journey is so different.
Yeah.
So I don't want to compare our habits to others, but I feel like there's always healthy habits.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there are always principles that are true. Like I don't believe that you should spend more than you make. I believe that you should have a budget. You know,
Yes.
those are things that are true, but how you accomplish that can be different for
Right.
everyone because they are wired differently. You know,
Right.
they might be spenders or savers. They might be, you know, more likely to prioritize food, or they might like clothing. And so, you know, we're fortunate enough that we talk about it a lot, probably to my wife's, you know, dislike. I talk about money all the time, and I kind of credit her for that because she gave me Dave Ramsey's name, and so I kind of
Mm-hmm.
run with it. But we've developed the habits of talking about it whenever we make any sort of purchase,
Mm-hmm.
and it helps us kind of reframe what is money in our life, and we try to keep that healthy perspective that money is just a tool. It's not something that I mean, having more of it can make life a bit easier, but at the end of the day, as long as we're together as a family and we've got our health and we've got a place to
Absolutely.
live and food to eat, we're going to be all right. And during this pandemic, that has really been highlighted for us because I ended up leaving an office that I was leasing
Yeah.
for my job and just coming home. And so I've spent like every day here.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be honest with you, I've got a 4.5-year-old and a 10.5-month-old baby. And privacy is not really a thing in this house. And especially when I'm working, I usually, like this morning, I was working and everybody came down and sat at the kitchen table where I was working for breakfast. And so, you know, fortunately, I was able to just pause things, be together with the family. And that's really been the thing that's rung true as the most important for me. You know, so I feel like our perspective about money and talking about it as a tool and not as a destination.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we don't talk about money as a goal, like we want to have all this money. It's why do we want to have all this money? We want to be able to do all these great things for our kids and our grandkids and for the rest of the world. We have huge hearts for the country of Haiti. We got engaged down there actually, and served down there as missionaries for a little while.
Awesome.
And that's a huge heart of ours. And we want to be able to give back. And you can't do that if you don't have money.
Yeah.
So that's where that perspective really comes into play. And that's what I do with, you know, coaching a lot. I talk a lot about the why. You know, money can't be the driver because that's gonna make you so unsatisfied.
Right.
You've got to have a bigger reason for why you're pushing towards these goals. That way, if something comes up to try to knock you off that saddle, you get right back on because your goal is more important.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And there is a bigger, I would say, mission and purpose for money. For me, creating a money purpose, I believe that money has the purpose to serve as a tool. Right. You either can invest it, you either can use it to spend it on somebody else, bless somebody, or invest it. So it's really like a tool. It's not really for you to hold on.
Right.
And what is the one habit that you and your family have held on and keep doing despite of pandemic in regards of money?
Yeah, this question is one that you'll probably hear the same answer to over and over again, like the habit that has come through. But I think holding on to an emergency fund is the biggest thing. I don't think anybody ever thought COVID was a possibility.
Yeah.
You know, like who would think that, you know, in 3 months, 40 million people are going to lose their jobs and the whole world is going to shut down. And I hope I have money. You know, nobody thinks that, but it's a reality now for so many. Right. And so it has just highlighted how important it is to have money in the bank, to not even try to grow that money, to just sit it there in the bank, to be there for the rainy days that are going to come. It's funny, like when you think about emergencies, I always define them as something that's unexpected. And the thing about emergencies, though, being unexpected, is that you can kind of expect them to happen at some point.
Right.
You just don't know what they're going to be, or when they're going to be, or how much they're going to cost you. It's going to be those things that are kind of variables, but I can't tell you what kind of peace it gives you having the money in the bank when something like this happens.
Right.
I've talked to two different types of people, really. It's the people that have $20,000 in the bank, no debt, and they lose their job, but they're not stressed at all because they're going to be okay. And then the other side is that person who is $100,000 in debt. They have $500 in the bank, and they're scared to death.
Right.
And so it kind of just highlights the core principles that I coach people on. Get some money saved for those unexpected things and the things that you want to be doing in the future, and then get out of debt so that this never happens again.
Right.
People have told me, like, I don't know if the world's ever going to be the same. And, I think to myself, like, that's good. Like, I don't think that it should be. I think we should learn from this, don't you?
Right.
And then personally making it real for you, I don't want you to ever have to feel this way ever again. A lot of times we talk to people about having that never again moment. And that can be this. Like, I remember that time when I was 20, 30, 40, and I lost my job and I had no money and the whole world shut down and I didn't know where to go. I'm never going to have that happen again. And sometimes people are blessed. Like, I feel like my wife and I are really blessed. Like, I have a kind of a never again moment, but I feel like we've created more of a that's not going to happen moment. Like, we make this thing up in our head, like, we're never going to let that happen.
Yeah.
So let's prepare today for that unforeseen future. So that way, if something does try to threaten that future, no, it's not going to happen.
Right.
So we say that a lot.
Yeah, no, it's a very good perspective to have, and it brings us back again to reality, because we obviously never expect things, but things do happen, and it takes a while to realize of the impact of COVID, and then trying to get back on your feet and do something about it. So Mike, it will lead to next question. A lot of us might be prepared, might not be, but you can save so much, you can prepare so much, you can plan so much, right? And what is, in your opinion, as a coach and a financial planner, that millennials and Generation Z can do right now to help to increase their finances? Because obviously school, it's one thing, but then it getting you into debt. You don't really know if you can really get a job because a lot of people are unemployed right now. So from your, as a financial planner, what would you recommend, I would say, this generation to do to help them to somewhat increase their finances and not be so that related, dependent on employer?
Yeah, so I think that's a huge question. It's so relevant to today because just going out and finding a job anywhere, like, it was a possibility 6 months ago that you could just go anywhere and find a job because people were hiring all over the place. And today it's not really that reality, but there are so many ways to increase the income. Before prepping up for this question, I just Googled companies that are hiring during COVID-19.
Yeah.
And there were like dozens of companies that are actively looking. But what's interesting about them is when I started reading the names of those companies, my mind started going to a certain thought process. And so it made me rethink that maybe the bigger issue is what's going on in our mind and in our mirror. Like we look at a certain job. A lot of people do, myself included. So I'm not throwing anything at anybody, but we have negative opinions about working a certain type of job or working at a specific type of company.
Right.
And I'm not going to name any names because I think that there's dignity in hard work, and money comes from work. It doesn't just get handed to you.
Right.
And it shouldn't be handed to you because then you'll lose the dignity in yourself, and that's too valuable. But we look at a job and we say, I would never want to do that. I can't imagine ever doing that. And you're probably thinking of a job or two.
Yeah, I do.
And I am too.
I absolutely do. Have few that are coming through my mind right now.
Yeah. And there are lots of jobs out there right now, but they just may not be the ones that you want for your future. So I think what we've got to do is we've got to remember that in order to have a great future, we've got to take care of the present. And even if it's just temporary, getting a job at a company or in an industry that's completely different and maybe never even one that crossed your mind, that can be an awesome thing. I always try to see the positives of every situation, the silver lining of every situation. And I can look at, going to a store. I work in the finance industry. If I went to a retail position, that's not something that I've done that in the past, but I don't know that I would ever want to do that again because of the environment. But what kind of skills could it teach me?
Right.
I could learn, how to better converse with people. I can learn how to see the good of a certain product. I can see trying to find somebody's needs that they need met and how to fulfill that with a certain product. I could meet new people. I could meet the next connection to that new career job. And I can make some money while I'm there. So, we're in a really hard time right now. And a lot of people are worried and stressed, and just a little bit of money would go a long way.
Yeah.
And so, I would just encourage people to kind of get out of their own head about it. There are there's lots of companies that need quality work. And it's amazing what happens. Like if you go to work with a smile on your face and you try hard and you work and you encourage and you support, you get there on time and you leave on time or late. It's amazing how quickly you'll get promoted.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how that next opportunity just opens itself up because you're seeing the positivity in a really hard or negative situation.
Right. No, I love what you share. And I think it's a lost art in nowadays generation of just, I would say, just go out there and ask the question. Like even back in the days when I just came to United States, I would literally go to grocery store and ask if they need help.
Yeah.
Because at that time, like that's what I needed to take care immediately in front of me.
Yeah.
Like, as you mentioned, to look at the present, what you can do now, and just do whatever it takes to get there. And I would agree with you as a financial planner that you want to have a plan, you want to have a destination and a goal where you want to eventually be. So don't get caught up if you're doing some job that is not related, because it's going to be a stepping stone for you to get to where you want to be. But take the things in reality how it is right now. And I think you are absolutely right. We have this idea, and the thing is, I would say, throw a perspective in there that we don't have it that bad in United States. That's why we get in our heads thinking like, well, I would not do this or I would never do that. And just for a little bit perspective, in other countries, people would just do and work whatever work, a job that it is, so they can feed their families. And we just have opportunity of doing a little bit of less job that we dream of to still make it, some money and get by. So we don't have it that bad. It's just matter of having that perspective, as you mentioned. Yeah. So, and speaking of mindset and just perspective, what is the one practical thing that you can share with our audience so that they can keep that mentality of abundance and growth instead of scarcity? Because obviously if you have a scarcity mindset about money and always holding on to money, it's probably not going to make you any better or increase your income. So even in the time when it's hard, then you might have to work, some job that you never thought of. But how can you practically keep your mindset of abundance?
Yeah, I think that the community is something that is extremely important.
Yeah.
Surrounding yourself with people that don't necessarily think exactly like you, but have similar goals. One thing that I've learned in the debt-free community on Instagram in particular, but all over, is that there's a lot of differences of opinion.
Yeah.
But we all have the same destination of wanting to be debt-free, and we want to be able to have work be an option for us. And we don't want money to be the thing that's holding us down,
Right.
and keeping us from being successful or keeping us from retiring or fill in the blank. And so I can't tell you how many great people I've met in the last few months just doing this Instagram page.
Yeah.
And the number of people that think like me, but then the number of people that don't.
Right.
And I think that's a beautiful thing of technology, that a lot of times people don't see it as something that's beautiful. They see it as kind of a combative thing and this like conflict inducer of going online, and people get so angry about stuff just because other people have different opinions.
Right.
But you can learn from those opinions.
Yes.
And just because somebody feels a different way about something doesn't mean that you have to get upset about it. Doesn't even mean that you have to change your perspective or change your opinion, but it might influence the way that you view something.
Right.
And it might make you align a little bit better with somebody else who feels that way. But the best thing about it has been just this environment of encouragement. All these people, every time you post anything, these people on this debt-free community are like, yes, you can do this. Like, I know you can, you've got this. And they don't even know me. Right. And I don't even know them. And I've immediately just started jumping into it. So I think surrounding yourself with people that are encouraging, and then trying to grow yourself, like developmentally.
Yes.
Always reading, always listening to podcasts and watching videos and trying to learn more. That puts you in a growth mindset instead of a fixed mindset.
Right.
And the thing about, to me, you're never really sitting still. Like you're either moving forward or you're moving backwards. And if you're sitting there in a fixed mindset thinking about like, this is the worst time ever, and I don't know if I'm ever going to come out of this, and I'm struggling so hard, it's really hard to move forward during that time, or to come out of that unscathed. But if you have this mindset of, I want to make this opportunity that I have the best it can be. I'm going to use the time that I have at home to read more, or to exercise more, or to talk to people more around my neighborhood. We've been able to do all that stuff, and it has really made this time something that I think we'll never forget in a good way.
Yeah.
I've met so many neighbors that I didn't even know lived here. And we walk by them like every day, and we start talking to them, and my daughter sees them from a distance, and they're like, hey, there's Petey. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, we had no idea he even lived here. And so there's always good things, but you've got to be intentional about what you feed yourself.
Absolutely.
There's that old saying, like, garbage in, garbage out, right? If you feed yourself garbage, what do you think is going to be filling your head? And garbage is different for everybody, but if you feed yourself positivity, encouragement, friends, people that actually want to see you succeed, it's really hard to be negative in those times.
Right.
So that'd be my big thing, is just surround yourself with people and content and encouragement and whatever it needs to be, but it'll change your life.
Yeah, absolutely. And I cannot agree anymore. I absolutely agree with that, because really being home and locked down, and instead of, feeding yourself with better thoughts, we often can, go to a place of comparison, or thinking that, well, people do better, but instead just really, get into the community of people that want to support you. And speaking of support and just the community on Instagram, I saw this picture of encouragement today, where it's saying, if you have the computer or a phone and you get the Wi-Fi and you have a growth mindset, you can become a millionaire. And I want to touch on that, that you actually pivoted during COVID-19, and you actually left your office that you used to run, came home to work full-time on your coaching business. So maybe you can tell us more about that, and how were you able to do that during pandemic? Like I think it's just amazing, and you're actually growing even more in the community, and a lot of things that you do in the community are growing and spreading like a wildfire. So how were you able to do that?
So it was honestly, I felt like COVID pushed me out faster than I planned on it, because when it was all going down and I kept seeing the weekly unemployment numbers just rise and rise and rise, I started thinking to myself, I can't think of a better time to jump out on my own and be at a place where people can have somebody that's going to coach them and sit down and talk to them about things that really change. You can talk about financial theory all you want to, but when people have lost their job, they don't really care about that. They care more about, how do I make bills? How do I turn this around and change my direction so that I'm not struggling anymore?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think I had the plan probably to not jump when I jumped. But what allowed me to do that was me and my wife's decision to kind of set ourselves up financially before now. We started our debt-free journey back in 2014 when we got married. We got married New Year's Day, January 1st, 2014.
Beautiful.
And then from then on, we paid our car off and our credit card off that day, and we bought a house, which was hard for my wife to do because the girl had never carried any debt in her whole life. And we got the house, and we set a course to pay it off as quickly as possible. And my goal was to pay it off by 30 years old. And praise the Lord, we actually were able to do it. I didn't think it was going to happen, but we ended up paying it off almost a year ago to the day, and we were both 28. And that same year, my wife decided to become a stay-at-home mom. And then the next 6 months, we had a baby, and I decided to leave my corporate job. And the reason we were able to do it, we just had no expenses. And we had a lot of money in the bank that were, there for rainy days. And we had some extra money there that was on top of it, almost as like business money or just extra cushion money. But we really buckled down, and we're still in that buckled down mindset because I'm in a business growing mindset. And, with incomes slowly rising, it's like, I don't want to overexpose ourselves and have the potential that we don't have enough money in the bank.
Right.
Again, we're like at that moment where we know something could happen, and we're going to try to protect ourselves from that potentially happening. So I would attribute it to the fact that we worked really hard for a long time to be in the position we were in.
Yeah.
We said no a lot. And that took us to a place where we could say, yes, you can stay home. Yes, I can leave my job. Yes, I can do this. And those are decisions that I am so grateful that we got to even consider, let alone make.
That's beautiful. And then now, not only that, you still on that journey, you're helping others to get on that journey as well. And I can see the financial piece behind the speeches that you give and, the classes that you teach on Instagram and, all those things that you really have walked that walk. And now we are grateful that you are there and helping others to do that. So what is next for you? What is next for Sean, and what are you doing for to help the community to get to their financial independence?
Yeah, this is what I do for my career, right? So I'm so glad you asked that question. So I mean, my goal, kind of like the mission statement, I don't even know if it's formal yet, but I want to help people crush their debt, take back their income, and give themselves more time, more money, and more joy. So if I can do that, people will have so much happier lives, so much less stressful lives. And so I'm trying to do that for anyone and everyone, no matter where they are as far as a budget goes.
Right.
I know that it's tight right now. So a lot of the stuff I do is free. I do, obviously on Instagram, at Sean the Money Coach, I do daily content. It's either educational, inspirational, or, statistics. It's just kind of to make you think about things a little bit differently and to keep you learning. So please follow me there. If you're listening and you don't, I would love the support, and I think you'd find a lot of value in it. Some other things that I'm doing. I've got freebies on there too, like insurance guides and how to find money in your budget and those sorts of things. Those are all free. And they're on my website as well. But then I've got some things that I'm working on right now, like an investing ebook, where I'm basically trying to demystify the complicated investment world. I've been on the other side of the table, and I've learned that it really doesn't have to be that complicated.
Right.
But oftentimes what stops people is that they don't understand it, or they don't know like the basics of how to find investments that are good, quality investments that they feel confident in and that don't charge them too much.
Right.
And so I'm putting together an ebook for that. I've already not published officially, but just like put out a budgeting guide on my website and on Etsy. You can get it there.
Awesome.
And then my favorite thing, and really the whole goal and the motivation behind me becoming a money coach, was the coaching sessions I get to have. So I offer two types of coaching sessions. One is just like a one-time hey, I'm here right now. I need help with where to go for the next couple of months. For the next month and a half, really to the end of September,
Right.
I'm offering half off of all coaching services. And that's just because of COVID, honestly. And so normally I would charge $250 for that 2-hour crash course, and it's going to be $125.
Wow.
And you'll walk away with a unique budget for you, a debt payoff plan if you have debt, investing knowledge, and then next steps for what you need to shoot for in the next few months. And that's very, very helpful, but you can only do so much in 2 hours.
Right.
And so sometimes people want a total transformation. They want their whole life to be different, or maybe they just need more information, and it's hard to get that in 2 hours. And so I also offer 3-month and 6-month coaching sessions where it's a reduced rate per meeting, but those are half off too. So if you want to meet weekly for 3 months, you can get that for $750 right now, every week. And then for 6 months, it's $1,250 instead of $2,500. So it's a mega discount.
Wow.
I think the value is so there. One personal story I'll tell you of a client. When I started working with him, he told me he had never had over $300 in his bank account in his whole life.
Wow.
Because he'd always just been paying bills and everything like that. And we're like 5 meetings in, and he's got $1,600 in his checking account. And he's like, I don't even know what to do. like I have never had this much money. And I'm like, well, don't just go out and spend it. You need to do something. And that's come from just consistently meeting and just talking about a real life.
Yeah.
And so those are the big ones is if you don't feel like you can afford something, I have free intro sessions. So take 15 or 30 minutes and talk with me.
Right.
And I'll tell you if I feel like I can add value to your life.
Right.
And if you don't know, if you don't want to pay that, but you want to still pick my brain a bit, I'm more than happy to do IG lives or Facebook lives or whatever I can do to kind of get this voice out there.
Right.
And just share, the experiences I've had and the knowledge that I've gained, so that other people can make the best decisions for their futures.
Thank you. And you're such a giver, just from your heart. I can see that you just want to give and help people. And by you and your wife working really hard towards having the financial independence where you at, you really can be from the place of having a full cup and giving back to community. And I really, really appreciate that. Guys, go sign up. And meet with Sean, just even for his free coaching. You can get to know him. You can get to break his brain, and he's amazing. His heart is just to give, and just connect with him on Instagram. I will definitely, put all the information that Sean mentioned before in the email, and you guys can sign up. And even for me, I'm just very thankful that we connected. And for me, my network is my net worth. And just by speaking to you today and getting to know you more and a little bit of your wife and both of your kids, I feel that my life has been enlarged and just richer. So I really appreciate for your time and just value that you have given us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It was amazing. I appreciate it.
Thank you.